In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, Gumpers.
Hola, bon dia, alegria. Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show, a live stream and podcast. Tudo bem? Como estás? How are you today? I'm hoping it's a big old tudo bom from you this morning as we look forward to a bon fin de semana here in Portugal. A strange morning already. We are expecting Coach Turner. There's nothing strange about that. Coach Turner often here with us first thing in the morning, as he is this morning, and talking about blood pressure a little bit later on in the show. We were going to have Siobhan from A Quinta, and she was going to be talking to us about a new bike project, a bike hire project. You can rent and hire bikes in Salir Do Porto, or you will be able to soon. And she's been delayed, so she hopefully will be joining us towards the end of the show, where I think we'll be having another one of those fantastic, inspiring conversations with Phil Cooklin. Phil My Cup Cooklin will be here, talking about his incredible weight loss of the last few weeks and how he's framed it basically within the realms of addiction and how he's tackled that and going through an amazing process of transformation. So really looking forward to talking to Phil. Want to hear about your plans for the weekend as well. What are you up to for this bon fin de semana? And people, morning coach, be with you in just a moment. João Ernesto de Norte is here. As is Owen. It's a big old bon dia Portugal from João Ernesto, of course. Thanks for that offer as well. If you're considering cataract surgery here in Portugal, John's been through that and he's very happy to advise on that. Antonio F., good morning to you. How are you? Bon dia todos from Antonio F. And by the way, An Old Guy in Europe, episode 6 of An Old Guy in Europe. Who am I? Who are you? Which well, contrary to some scallywag suggestions, is not a tribute to Joe Biden. Who am I? Who are you? Is now playing on a screen near you. And so if you check that out on YouTube, An Old Guy in Europe, his episode number 6. Time flies, doesn't it? James already up to episode 6. And thank you for your correspondence, Deagle, this morning. Microsoft's back office systems are down across the world. And Nunes also sent me some information about that. Just very quickly on that before we go to the coach. Bon dia, Carl and Gumpers from a very, not very dull, a dull Belfast with a very wet Thursday, but sun due soon and a warm 21 degrees today. It's real yo-yo weather. It's a yo-yo world. Yo-yo weather for a yo-yo world. And yeah, thank you for that tip off about Microsoft. Also from Nuno this morning. Saw Nuno talking from the Tesla last night as he was driving from Porto. Went to the Porto meetup with Hank and Connie yesterday. And we'll see him at the San Martino de Porto meetup, I hope, next Wednesday as well. Let us know if you're coming along to that. Nuno sends a message. Oh, great job as well on the Dream Team session last night. That's where we saw him in his Tesla. And great effort great contribution and information from Rita Afonso from Global Pets as well about how to move your pets, cats and dogs mainly, to Portugal. And that video will be published on Sunday evening. But there's a computer failure affecting several sectors around the world. This is in sapo.pt. And the computer failure is affecting banks, airlines, media and trains. In Portugal, the Amadora Sintra Hospital, for example, has lost its system and is registering requests for consultations and tests on paper. So there's that. I mean, it's a good job, isn't it, that despite the promise of the paperless society here in Portugal, everything is still done on paper with quills, wax and rubber stamps. So we get the last laugh here in Portugal, I think, with the paper backup. But operators Mayo, NOS and Vodafone also experiencing outages. So far, none of the airports are being affected. There are also reports of failures at Santander Portugal Bank. So be aware that there might be a little bit of disruption, and only telling you that really so that if there is any, if there are any hacks, or if we can help each other in the face of that, let's do that on this Feel Good Friday. Let's give him a massive round of applause and bring him to the screen. Hola, bon dia, Alegria. How do you follow that?
Morning. Well, I can't. I'm glad to say that our local cafe's coffee machine isn't wired up to the internet.
And aren't you glad? I mean,
Yeah,
isn't that amazing? They probably had the option to do that, to connect it to the Internet of Things and Bluetooth and a USB cable at the back or an HDMI, but they resisted that by the sound of it. So you can get coffee in an old school manner.
Yeah,
Physical
exactly
coffee.
that.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I mean, there might be a time when you get offered a virtual coffee. That is not going to cut the mustard, is it?
It's not going to work, is it?
No.
That's like virtual wine. That's not going to work either.
No way. We're not interested in that. However hard they sell that to us, we're not interested. We like the real deal. Nunu's here. Look, good morning. Expect a hot day for today as well. Oh, and talking of heat here in Portugal, be very careful. It is wildfire season, and well done the Bombeiros in Central, who tackled a massive blaze with 10 aircraft last night. Jerry was on the call, of course, last night, and could see planes refilling their reservoirs from a local river. So well done. They've got that under control, resolved just before 2 o'clock this morning. Ian, how warm is it in the UK and how are you?
Well, it's supposed to be 29 today. So that's getting a bit steamy.
It is, isn't it? And the sun is blasting through your windows by the look of it.
Yeah, it is. It's up. There's only chemtrails in the sky.
Well done. Well, let's see if it does get to 21 or it goes to one of those very grey days.
No, it's 29, not 21. It's going to be 21, I think, on Sunday and Monday. So it cools down again.
All right. So yeah, hopefully they won't keep playing noughts and crosses in the sky behind you. Okay. Let's come back to the old guy in Europe's mindful moment and mindful dad joke later on. And of course, you provide us and continue to provide us. And this gives me an opportunity when you join us every month to thank you for your incredible service to this community.
It's a great pleasure. It keeps my brain ticking over.
Well, thank you. I'm glad we're able to provide that service for you as well. And your God Squad tips of the day have gone into blood pressure just recently. So I'll pop this on the screen and you might want to talk to us about this. Maybe give us a bit of context.
Yeah, it was just, I came across some research that was looking at different ways of improving blood pressure that didn't include taking pills. So, yeah, which, of course, that's necessary. And the caveat of all of these things is do talk to your doctor or physician.
If you can get an appointment.
If you can get an appointment, yeah. I gather doctor's appointments in Portugal are becoming an issue as well.
Yes, definitely. Nunu addressed that last night, and we heard from Nunu last night that those days where in the last couple of years we used to talk about a hybrid system, use the private and the public 50-50. He's talking about plan A is with private now. Seems to be going the same way as many other countries. And there's a great emergency service if you need it in Portugal. But the hospitals are under great, and the system is under great pressure. So yeah, things are changing.
Yeah, well, it's probably a lot worse here.
Yes, yeah. Well, and strangely enough, we don't take any comfort from that, do we?
No.
When we've got it's awful, isn't it? When it's less worse rather than rather good as it used to be. But this is the trajectory, isn't it? Hello, good morning. Hola.
Say hello to Carl.
Hey, Leslie, how are you?
I'm good, really good.
Excellent.
I didn't realise I was on camera.
You so are.
She hates it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Put some more makeup on.
Just borrow Ian's makeup bag. You'll be fine.
Yeah. That'll always work well.
Lovely to see you. Have a great weekend. Ciao. All right.
Bye.
Yes. So we are under that pressure over here as well. We are,
and I think that makes it even more important that we look after ourselves.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And take ownership of it to as a great lesser or greater extent.
Yes. Do you know what I'm going to do?
So,
Ian? Before you get started, Phil has joined us already. Phil, give us a thumbs up if you're ready to join us on screen, and we can have a three-way here. Great.
Ooh.
Okay, let's give him a nice big round of applause.
Always enjoy a three-way in the morning.
Don't we? First thing in the morning. How about that? The great Phil Cooklin and Phil My Cup Cooklin is here. How are you, Phil?
Hey, big guy.
Hello. I hope you can hear me all right.
Loud and clear.
Yes, I'm really well. There's quite a lot of building noise today. I'm sorry to say. Well, I'm happy to say, and I'm sorry to say, because they're working on the roof of the veranda and putting the floor into the second bedroom, which means eventually we will actually be able to have some guests here, which would be rather lovely.
Is there a guest list being created as we speak then?
Well, I think,
or waiting.
I think there are quite a number of people who say, "Oh, well, we want to come." So I don't know. We might have to create something like some sort of diary calendar, protected.
Very good.
Choose the dates that are free.
Yeah, get a paper diary from Staples. Don't use Microsoft.
Not this morning.
No. So Phil, it's lovely to see what looks like home behind you. We're used to seeing you in like a barn, basically, sometimes without a roof, and we've seen it come together.
Yes.
It's looking very homely now.
It is. It is. I would have to do you a video, I think, at some point of
love to see that.
Of the whole thing.
Yeah.
It has come on leaps and bounds, even since I had the great pleasure of Ian coming over on his grand tour of Europe, and but mainly Portugal, and it's even come on a massive amount since then. So
super. Well, we look forward to that video, and we're really looking forward to talking to you about the major transformation you've been going through in the last few weeks. And we're going to hear first about a bit of blood pressure. Insight and inspiration without the recourse to pharmaceutical intervention, by the sound of it, Ian. So sorry, back to you.
Yeah, well, that's the idea, is to try and avoid taking pills, and so I thought it was an interesting bit of research, and obviously the easy ones are just going out for a walk, adding a bit of speed. You know what we've been talking about for 2-3 years now.
Yes, indeed.
Cycling was an interesting one, which of course, doing any exercise really. But the surprise one was isometric exercises, which are the old Charles Atlas thing, where you push against each other. That stationary type effort. Yeah, pull, push, all of that. But of course, your biggest muscles are in your legs. So that's sort of today's tip is the wall sit, and if you can manage that for 2 minutes, obviously you have to find a comfortable position and not an extreme one, because you won't manage that for 2 minutes.
You're screaming for help from the neighbours. So a wall sit is literally that your back is against the wall.
Your back is against the wall. Your feet are just out from the wall. Yes. And it's really the angle of your thighs that defines how difficult it is.
Yes.
I feel clearly hyper fit people can probably get to a 90-degree angle.
Yes.
Between your thighs and the wall. But that's pretty extreme. I can manage that for about 10 seconds, not 2 minutes.
Right.
So just find a comfortable position and manage it for 2 minutes. Do that twice a day, every day. So it's 4 minutes a day, and it has an amazing effect, apparently, on your blood pressure. Who knew? So I thought that was an interesting one. Just to throw into the mix.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. So isometric, as you say here, effectively means non-moving, like when you put your hands together and push, as you said, Charles Atlas there. Don't sit for too far down. Okay, so as you've always said to us over these last few years, build up slowly, and don't think you're back in the days of Charles Atlas and people not having to kick sand in your face. You can work up to that. You don't just go straight onto the beach, do you, and have a fight with somebody. Okay.
Well, only if you're English and boozed up.
Well, we can burn off a few calories that way. Make sure it's well balanced, and the other person wants to scrap as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is making a comeback, isn't it? Because Louisa was talking about how her dad, back probably would have been in the 80s, I suppose, started is it called resistance training as well? But this isometric thing.
Well, anything with weight or the bands is resistance training, but this is isometric training, which is slightly different in that you're not moving, but obviously with weights and bands and things, you tend to, you're doing this or this or whatever.
Okay, so but you're working against yourself
You're working against yourself essentially, or against gravity.
or against gravity. Okay.
So,
Which
you know,
remember
in
that
effect,
that's really
a plank,
beefing up.
I guess. A plank is
yes, okay,
isometric.
Yep, amazing. Okay, so blood pressure then that's a way of bringing it down. Anything else to add to this, because it is a concern for some people, obviously, and we live in times perhaps where blood pressure is tempted to go upwards.
Well, it is if you overindulge too often and don't do any exercise.
Yes, and watch the news. Yeah.
So yeah, it's balance again. You know, we've talked about it loads of times. It's finding that fine balance between making sure you do enough activity and enjoying life.
Yes. Yeah.
Growing old disgracefully.
Yes, well done. And talking of scraps, we had a fantastic day at the Medieval Festival in Óbidos. I actually saw, when I went for a swim in the sea yesterday, it was a lovely day at the beach, and it was completed by a small plane with a banner behind it. You know, like you're at the seaside, and it's like not a skywriter exactly, but a banner plane came over, making it a proper seaside scene. And they were advertising the Medieval Festival just up the road at Óbidos. Young Ben Austin, he was in full contact. I don't know if it's a role play as well, armored hand-to-hand combat event. Which sounds like a really good way to get fit as well.
That's probably hard work.
Yeah, stress relief as well that suits the younger person. The troop are recruiting apparently if you're interested in that as well. So thanks, Uncle Gary, for being here this morning. And Lord Travanca is with us as well. All rise. Bon dia todos from the Squire. Squire's in. And olive oil. Why does that bring your blood pressure down as well, maybe?
Sure. Olive oil is a good health sort of additive.
Yeah,
so it's the only oil I use, whether it's for cooking or to have on salads and things.
Yeah, or on your back. The references to
preferably not.
The references
not sure it used to be, didn't it? I mean, it's what the Romans used.
Well, if it's good enough for them, it's good enough.
What did they ever give for?
Yeah, right. The olive oil massage. The references to Charles Atlas and kicking sand in the face also reveal many hours spent reading comics back when we were all 7 years old. Yeah, and eating bubblegum, right? Bazooka Joe bubblegum, I think. It's an awesome event. This is going back to the combat and well worth a visit, Antonio. Plenty to do, see. This is the Óbidos Medieval Festival. And on blood pressure, my blood pressure was on the high side of normal back in the US, and my doctor suggested statins. I chose diet and exercise. There's more of that to come. Bon dia, Gumpers.
Well, I'm James.
Not alive at the minute. I mean, not awake. Yeah, we can tell. Jackie, get a couple of more cups of tea down here. Coach, okay, well, thank you very much for that. And we look forward to more of this very simple. I mean, simple, maybe not easy, but something you can do at home. You don't have to join a gym. Most people have got walls in their houses, haven't they? And a couple of tins of beans in the cupboard. So we can do all of this. Anything else to tell us before you go off and enjoy your weekend?
I've sort of been planning our next trip to Portugal, which looks like early next year.
Right,
for 3 or 4 weeks, but in rather less places than we did last time. So we spend more time in them.
Yes.
With a view to finding a place that we really want to spend a lot of time in.
Oh, okay.
So we're moving in the right direction.
Very good. And we might have to pitch to you, mightn't we, at various places around Portugal, why you should come here, for example.
Well, I think we're going to start in Setúbal.
Yes.
And then head up towards Coimbra, probably via the Silver Coast, just because it's there and we need to meet up with old friends.
Yep.
So yeah, there's a few places, but it depends what our intention is, how we're going to use it. Are we going to use it in the winter time to give us somewhere warmer?
Yeah.
Or are we going to use it in the summertime? In which case we'd probably be further north. So it's an interesting conundrum.
What a fabulous challenge to have. What a lovely challenge to have as well.
And finding somewhere affordable, of course, which probably looking at Silver Coast prices now is not.
Better get on with it.
Yeah, it's not quite the case.
Yes, don't hang about. Basically, I think is the advice on that side.
I don't think we're up for a project like Phil's done, because
not many are they?
No, we've done our big project. and
Yes.
I'm sitting in it. So
Yeah. Well, fair enough. Well, thank you so much, Ian. Thanks for
okay,
popping
it's
in.
lovely to see you guys.
Yeah, great to see you. Oh, just to finish there on James's comment, didn't do so well on the exercise, and my diet in Portugal, lots of cheese and meat would make it worse. And the only thing I changed was a lot more olive oil. Okay, so that explains the
There you
olive
go.
oil in capital letters earlier on. Great work. Thanks, Coach. Have a great weekend. Bon fils semana to you.
You too.
And you know where we are. If we can help you with your choices over here in Portugal, you know
We'll
where
give
we
you
are.
a shout.
All right, mate. Take care.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye for now. There he goes, off for his coffee, no doubt, in Hertfordshire in the UK. Right, Phil, you've been through... Actually, the way you're sat at the moment, it looks like you've had a flu added to the top of your head, which is like a vent. Oh, no, there we
It's
go.
a special Portuguese hat.
Or a 1950s spaceman.
Yeah, no, it's
Sci-fi
the hob, the
Oh,
vent,
of
and
course.
then out of the wall.
Yes, right. You have had the most amazing few weeks, haven't you? And there is
Oh yeah,
a deeply transformational aspect to, I think, what you're going to tell us about. Yeah, what have you been up to? What's been going on? I mean, you walk a million steps a couple of years ago. You moved to Portugal. You transform how you live, where you live, and the place in which you're living. And not content with all of that, you've taken yourself on in the most astounding way. What's been happening?
the you know I believe in dream boards, and
Yes.
the dream boards that we started 9 years ago had dream house, didn't have a location, great, like-minded friends, had things about health, things about wellness, things about my weight, had all of these various things, which over the last 8 years, strangely, we put them on a dream board. We took a few baby steps, and all of a sudden, here we are living. I've got my dream relationship and living in my dream house. There is enough money somehow, and I don't really sweat on that. And so the one big one that was still left on my list, on my dream board, was around weight, which I have struggled with for, let's be fair, let's call it 35, 36 years.
Oh, okay. We lost you for a moment there, but this is quite the battle then. Did you say 35, 36 years?
Yeah, I would say my weight started increasing around mid-20s.
Okay.
So, but I can, and I had no idea why. I had tried what you might call everything. I'd done keto and Atkins and Weight Watchers and red days and green days, which merged into brown days. And, well, I'd done them all. I had done them all. I hadn't found the right thing. And I now know why it is I hadn't found the right thing, because all of those things address diet, which is fine. But what I have found out in the last 3 months is that it's not just about the diet. It's about my head and what's going on in my head.
Yep.
Okay. So I came across, what happened was Kimberly was doing a Zoom call with a good friend of ours who we noticed had lost a lot of weight. And she said, well, you look fantastic. What did you do? She said, oh, I'm doing a thing called bright line eating. And we'd never heard of this bright line eating. And the first stepping stone is probably to get the book Bright Line Eating by Dr. Susan Pearce Thompson. And I said, wow, you look fantastic. And so I got the book that very same day. I got the book, and I straight away it resonated with me. Mm-hmm. I am a food addict. I mean, there are still people who argue whether food addiction is a thing. Well, let me tell you straight. For me, food addiction is a thing. I was addicted to sugar and flour, and they were not benefiting me in any way, shape, or form. And I now know why I was addicted to those things. So my behavior around these things wasn't what you would call normal. I couldn't have a slice of toast. I could have a rack or 2 racks of toast, but not a slice of toast, you know? And I would eat after I'd eaten, even though I knew I was full. These are not normal behaviors. These are the behaviors of somebody who's addicted to something.
Yeah.
So 82 days ago, I can tell you the exact number. 82 days ago, I decided that was it. That was it. I was going to do this bright line eating, and I was going to change the way I did stuff. And I jumped fully in and haven't looked back. I don't eat sugar. I don't eat flour. I have 3 good meals every day, really big, good meals, but it's all fresh produce made by me. No processed foods. I wasn't a big drinker anyway. I worked for Guinness. That kind of cured me of any sort of drinking, really, back in a past life.
Yeah.
So I didn't do. And you would think it is impossible to do that. And I am not going to turn around and say, oh yeah, it's easy. Relatively speaking, for some of the challenges that some of the people on here will be going through, my challenge was relatively easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, as Gary says, sugar legalized cocaine. It really just is.
Yes.
And you may notice I've got cheeks all of a sudden and a chin. I was almost swore then. You know, I don't know where that's been hiding, but it's been away for a while. We've lost 2 X's off the top. This is from a 4XL down to 2XL. Eventually, the X's will go all together.
Wow.
And people say, well, you know, I had the most staggering range of people coming back to me. I've had people say, oh yeah, but it's not going to be forever. It's not going to be forever. You know, you can reward yourself, you know, in a while when you've got to where you want to be, you can reward yourself with, you know, a nice cake or something. No!
That sounds like it's very interesting. Yeah, that sounds like the world of addiction, doesn't it? Where there are people around you who say, oh, come on, just one's not going to hurt. And but that's not helpful to you, is it?
Absolutely not. Bless them. They meant it in the nicest possible way.
Yes.
But they couldn't be more wrong. It's like, would you turn around to a crack addict and say,
just a little bit.
Oh, don't worry. You've been off it now for 6 months. Why didn't you have just the one?
Come and hang out with us. You don't have to have any or do anything. Just be with us. Come on. Right. Yeah.
So you know, so I'm very open and honest about it, because I believe people should. Yeah, and I believe people should know. You know, is it Marianne Williamson about the hiding the light quote?
Yes. Yeah. It's our greatness that frightens us, isn't it? Yes. Yeah.
So shine your light. You got to shine your light.
All right, let's have a few comments, because I want to take a deeper look, really, because I think this is very profound.
Can I just interrupt for 1 second, Carl? I'm going to disappear off camera just for a moment, because I suddenly realised that I haven't got my power cable connected.
All right, I'll see you in just a moment.
Rookie error. I'll be back in just 1 moment.
Of course. All right. So Phil's going to come back after he's plugged his laptop in, and I'll read your comments when Phil's back here. I just wanted to share with you what I think is a funny article in the Portugal news. Portuguese in favour of adult-only flights, which sounds kind of sort of sexual almost, doesn't it? Adult-only flying. But this is, I was more and more amused the further I read into this article. Oh, talking of newspaper articles as well, you might like to see Sarah Davey in her new front room here in Portugal, with this week's my column this week features Sarah. It sounded so good I moved here, sounding a lot like Victor Kayam, who I mentioned in the article there. But that's Sarah Davis, Spartan FX, and her falling in love with Portugal and deciding to move here after sitting in on so many webinars. It kind of rubbed off on her. And yes, this staying with the news, that's the Portugal Resident, where you'll find Sarah's article in the Portugal news. And we've got this adult-only flying idea here. It was, yeah, as I say, I was more and more amused the more and more I read about it. The Portuguese are inclined, or very inclined, to support flights exclusively for adults, according to a recent study by eDreams on the main attitudes and preferences of Portuguese travellers on flights. And it's just like a bit like the roads. You know how we sometimes, I don't know where we were saying this just recently. Was it yesterday morning? Yeah, I think with Carl Hyde talking about Portuguese driving and how there's a Portuguese personality change when the Portuguese get on the roads. It sounds like their personality changes when they're on flights, and that no longer the family-loving folk, but like, yeah, get them kids off this plane. The results show that 45% of Portuguese people are inclined or very inclined to support adult-only flights, compared to 31% who do not support this idea. Another 22% said they were neutral on this topic, reveals eDreams. Well done, eDreams. I think it's one of those surveys where if you ask certain kinds of questions, you're going to get certain kinds of answers. Well, I suppose that's all surveys and all research, is it not? So yes, and the study also sought to determine which behaviours on board planes most irritate national travellers, concluding that the majority of Portuguese people are irritated by people who recline their seats backwards. Right. That's 57%. And also by the need to get up and let the next door passenger pass. I mean, you're on an aeroplane. The seats recline and you sit in rows. So occasionally you have to get up to let somebody come past. The Portuguese still don't seem to like passengers who get up as soon as the plane lands. And those who constantly make conversation. Guilty as charged there. I'll have to bear that in mind. And there is this thing about people looking at their electronic devices and want to grass those people up to the crew. The study also looked at travellers' reactions to the use of electronic devices during takeoff and landing, finding that some passengers feel the need to warn the crew to intervene or even panic internally due to think that the plane will have a problem because someone's still looking at their mobile phone. Interestingly, the youngest age group, 18 to 24 years old, is the one who feels the most fear and anxiety when others use electronic devices on flights. And this feeling is much stronger in women than in men, the eDreams study also found. It's so weird, that, isn't it? Let's bring Phil back onto the screen. There you go. Imagine that. People reclining their seats on an airplane.
Oh, can I tell you, I was flying to Israel a while ago, and there were two rabbis. One, it sounds like a joke, doesn't it?
Is this a joke, Phil?
Two rabbis, one sitting in front of the other. Two rabbis sitting on a plane. Anyway, and one had reclined his seat and the other didn't like it, so he was banging the back of the seat with his knees. And it kicked off in a way that I cannot put it this way. If they were on a flight to Spain, the flight would have diverted.
Wow.
Right?
Wow. And how was it resolved? Did you have to intervene?
I gave them a few gentle words of advice.
Did you?
Sometimes you have to.
Sometimes you've got to rabbi the rabbi, right?
Yeah. Treat others as you would treat yourself. Major tenet of all religions.
Yes.
I said, how are you treating each other, and what image are you giving to the rest of this plane?
A quick public shaming. Did it do the trick?
Seemed to.
Well done, Phil.
And the fact that at the time I was like 20 stone, or that's loads of kilos. I was 6 foot and I wasn't looking happy. Yeah,
okay. And they looked at each other, and immediately they found a common enemy.
The seat thing is, exactly. I don't mind being anybody's. It's fine.
That's amazing.
The seat thing is a big thing on flights, though, isn't it? I mean, we all.
It is.
Talk about the economy, the bucket places, Sleazy and Ryanair and all of those, but their seats don't go back. I mean, you're lucky to get a seat, really. So that stops any of those arguments.
Well, yeah. I guess if you do that, but I mean, people getting annoyed because people need to pass them. I mean, it's just in the nature of the design of the plane, isn't it? And if you're really bothered, you can choose your seat on some planes as well. Anyway, and then you can be the person who annoys everybody else because you sat near the window. Anyway, I just thought it's one of those funny surveys where it's kind of a no shit Sherlock kind of scenario there, but E-Dreams managed to get a bit of publicity out of it. Right, so back
Good.
to you and this incredible journey you've been on, and the distinction that
Yeah.
the very clear distinction you've offered us this morning is, for years you were doing diets, and it sounds like you've tried most of them, and you had to dig a little deeper to get what was going to really transform rather than just change things constantly, and that was around addiction, and I suspect people can sympathize with that and perhaps be very interested as well, because it's probably not that uncommon either, is it? I suspect.
I don't think it is. There are lots of addictive personality quizzes that you can take if you go online.
Yeah.
And there was one that was recommended in the book. And I, of course, it's the only time in my life that I've taken a test and come out 10 out of 10.
Right.
In fact, I could have come out 11 out of 10, which would have cheered up my grandfather, who always thought I should have got 11 out of 10 when I was a child.
Granddad, you'll be so proud of me.
Yeah, look, I got 11 out of 10 on the one thing that I really didn't want to be.
Yes. Yeah.
I kind of knew that I had this within my makeup. I had smoked, I had gambled, I had tried various things. I have done lots of things, and most of the things I do, I go full on at, and therefore it would suggest that I have that within my personality to go full on. So now I just go full on. I'm looking at things that I really want to do, things that are really positive to do. So I think my next full on it's got to be around the Portuguese language, because I so want to master just get some thorough basics in. But right now it's around this. It's around keeping bright lines, being very clear on what I do and I don't do and how I do it. I've got a wonderful support community.
That's really helpful. That's really useful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because that's key to it.
Well, I think you've got to have that, because the rest of society is going to tell you what you're doing wrong. I promise you. I promise you, everybody that you meet has an opinion. And the best thing about opinions, if you get, listen, everybody, here's a little word from Phil. What I would suggest is, if someone gives you an opinion, look on it as you would view their belly button. Yes. You know that they've got one, but you don't really care about it.
Thank you for reframing that. I thought you were going to use a different body part, and you very delicately and thoughtfully reframe that for the time of the morning and the community here. So thank you. Yeah, we've all got them. We don't necessarily need to be shared publicly.
Don't necessarily. I'm trying to get an angle so you don't get the fanning, but it's really not. Anyway.
No, I'm used to it now. Let's have a look at a few comments that have come in, and also. Okay. I think there's with the idea of addiction, there's another sort of sub distinction of that I'm interested to talk about with you on this as well. For the sake that it might be helpful to other people, of course. Well, for all of us here, Nat M, a name we're not so familiar with. Forgive me if we have seen you before. Good afternoon from the mega city of Bangkok, sitting in the office and taking a break. How's Portugal treating you? Not too badly, we can answer there, can't we, Phil?
Oh, definitely. It's wonderful. It's a great place to be.
Yep. Gary has been talking about getting back to. He's been very busy. Look, after a few frantic weeks, I finally had a chance to return to my little space in the forest near me to rebalance and center for a few precious moments, and felt great afterwards. Good for you. And the coach applauding you on addressing mental health as well as physical health. Ian, it's an exercise I have developed that uses meditation, yoga, tai chi, and gentle movement. Who doesn't like a gentle movement first thing in the morning? Combined with powerful symbolism, works great for me. And we have a recording of it actually at the Portugal Club that Gary very kindly shared with us. Back to the sugar then. Sugar addiction is horrible to break. When you start reading how much sugar is in things, you really get a shock. And as you said before and noticed on the screen, Phil, sugar is legalized cocaine. Philomena is with us. Hola, bon dia. Tudo bem? Philomena, great to see you. Bon fin de semana to you. I tell many of my friends here, first step of losing weight is that you start to walk. Well, Pete, Phil's done that. Phil, you can't talk to Phil about walking. Compete with yourself, increasing steps every day.
So last year, Nat, I walked 1.7 million steps in 3 months, right? That's 9 miles a day, about 18,000 steps. and I completed it, and I loved it. But I was walking at 20 stone, 21 stone. I don't know what that is in kilos, but shed loads.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, every walk, well, not every walk, but a lot of them went via certain cafes. So I would do 9,000 steps. I would stop and have a full English because I was enjoying the pleasures of an English summer, which was mainly rain. I would have a full English, and then I'd walk another 9,000 steps. How much weight did I lose? How much weight did I keep off? But I was fitter and healthier. I love walking, and so I walk here. In fact, you can walk to that. I can see the top of Monsanto from my kitchen window, and I can walk from here to the top of Monsanto. So, and that walking last year was almost like a bedrock, one of the foundations for what I'm going through this year, which is taking away just the physical and going hard into the mental aspect of why I do things, what I do, and how can I deflect activity so that it doesn't happen.
Well, definitely want to talk a bit more about that. Tom West, good morning, Gumpers. Relaxing with a coffee in Carcavelos, Old Town. Good morning to you, Tom. Good to see you here. Eat a piece of chocolate and really be aware of how it makes you feel. Oh, that's mindful eating, I guess, there. Before you have swallowed the first chunk, your mind is craving the next piece. That's how strong it is. I'm like that with a packet of Jaffa cakes. Gary, that's how it works for me, and any food I like. That's the problem. I love eating and I hate exercise, says Philomena. By the way, I know I'm wrong. You are not wrong. That is just an honest assessment, self-assessment there. Let's not be making ourselves wrong. And Phil is here to give us some incredible insight and inspiration on this. Gary, sugar problem here in Southeast Asia is on another level. It's sugar in everything now. And I've seen the change in people physically in many countries here in only 15 to 20 years. I think it's happening in Portugal as well, isn't it? Would they be prepared to pay more? Oh, this is for people who are on adult-only flights. 12-hour flight, 2 screaming kids 2 rows away, all the time. Oh, the joy. Self-fulfilling prophecy possibly there for now. Hit the like button, folks, says Antonio and Philomena. Sugar is in lots of things. Bread, fruit, potatoes. Difficult to avoid, says Garbo. Speaking of seats on planes, I'm tall, so seat room is precious. Thus, I need to recline to make the flight more tolerable. My peeve is the short fellow behind objecting to losing a couple of inches. So back to the 2 rabbis. Here in Southeast Asia, they eat differently and put spoons full of sugar in the food. If you don't stop them, yes, stop. I had a social media addiction in Southeast Asia, and that is double against the West, and you have a diabetes party. My goodness, hopefully we're not going to one of those anytime soon. Corollary is if the person behind is tall, I do not recline. Plain etiquette there. Plain good manners. Gary Austin, real bread is flour, yeast, salt, and water, nothing else, says Nat. And James, the book Sugar Blues will really open your eyes regarding sugar consumption, the sugar insulin cycle, how it is a drug, and much more. The book literally changed my life. Very interesting you being here, Phil, and the conversation you're generating here. I'm 52, walk a minimum of 20,000 steps a day in the heat of Bangkok as well. If I have a business dinner later, I take the stairs and I work on floor 15. Right. I'm guessing you'll be familiar with the work of Gabor Mate, Phil. Have you come across him?
Yeah.
I think he's extraordinary, and he's very keen to point out when people are diagnosing themselves as people might in this sort of area. You know, I'm an addict. I've got an addictive personality. He I think very helpfully points out that it's a coping mechanism. Does that hold some sway for you as well? That these are learned behaviors rather than self-judgments in the way that Philomena was talking about. I'm wrong, I'm bad. It's like, well, this is just the way I've learned to cope in life.
Yeah, we do quite a lot of work, what we call parts work within the whole journey, about the parts of your brain. So, for example, and I've given them names because I like to have conversations with. There was a time, when if you talked to yourself, you were considered mad. But actually, the sanest people talk to themselves. So you have an indulger part, for example, and your indulger part says, "Oh, Phil, you're so worthy. Why don't you just go and help yourself to a bar, a Mars bar, or a Snickers, or bar of Milka, not a piece, a bar. You know, and we'll massage your ego. Then you might have a Ronnie the Rebel part, and Ronnie the Rebel's like, God, I don't need to bloody die. People can make off and they can go somewhere else. Where? Yes, right. And of course, Ronnie's great fun because Ronnie appeals to my anarchic sense.
Yes.
But so that would, and then you've got your critical part, your inner critic. And your inner critic's really, you know, you're not very good, are you? Really, you're a bit rubbish, really.
Oh.
So your inner critic starts doing that, right? And then your indulgent part goes, oh, that was a bit harsh, wasn't it, Phil? Why don't we let ourselves gently down with a nice pastel donata, or whatever, you know?
Yes.
And if you get those two in sequence, that's affecting your mind. But your parts are really, really important. They are positive. They may seem, and because you're negotiating with a part, you're not telling yourself that I am rubbish. Yeah. Your authentic Phil is still authentically Phil.
Yes.
Yes. But the part, so for example, Izzy, I've had a lot of conversations with Izzy, and they go, Izzy, it's Phil here. We've got food covered. You don't need to worry about food now. What I need you to worry about now is anything else that we might need to have a look at. So if you could go off, because I need you on board with this. Are you okay? It's Phil. I've got the food. And it all calms down. And yeah, I do breath work and I do a little bit of early stretching in the mornings, as we all do. And because you want to stay mobile and fit and healthy. But the parts work are protecting from wounds. Yeah. They come out because at some point you may have had some wound surface in your earlier life. But because most of them are early, your parts tend to be stuck in that lifetime. So your brain can very easily be stuck in that lifetime. So yeah, it's the whole, what they were saying, just the whole Ganser Magilla. It's the whole thing. It's the whole doing it all, because it's not just about what you eat. It's not just about the exercise. It's not just about the things that are going on in your head. It's about all of the things and how you're going to cope, how you're going to find that balance within the life, because that's what you need to do.
Wonderful. And the convener, the chair of that panel, I mean, I'm fascinated by, like, who are we? And I'm seen around the place asking the question on social media, where are you right now? Right now is fairly straightforward, isn't it? You know, this moment. But who are you? Where are you? You have to kind of answer the question you are. And you have finessed being the center of those parts by the sound of it.
Yeah, and you are. Each one of us is. Yes. Whether we want to embrace that or not.
Yes.
Right? But you are made up of lots of different parts.
Yeah.
You know, the diminisher part. The diminisher part's a fascinating one. The diminisher part says, oh no, I'm not going to tell people that I've lost 49.5 pounds in 12 weeks. No, I'm not going to do it, or 22.5 kilos. I'm not going to tell people that, or that, you know, because actually that's not how we behave, is it, Phil? You know, we don't highlight these things because we don't want to look, you know, egotistical or whatever. And that's prevalent as well. Because I think for our generation, or certainly in Britain, we were all taught, okay, you know, so you got 10 out of 10. It's okay, you don't need to talk about it. You know, you got it. That's enough. No, bloody shout about it. Yeah. You know, tell people what's going on.
Well, I'm glad you are in a sense here doing that, and because I think it is just opening the door to it's giving different access to a really old problem for many people, right? This is a perennial challenge for people, and it's great to have this new, I don't know if you'd call it technology, but a new insight, new angles on things that actually work and that are truly transformational, rather than another change, another fad, another approach. In saying that, I'm not diminishing anything or criticizing anybody, but that's the difference, isn't it, between just trying a new thing and finding some real purchase or real leverage and a real transformation.
it's difficult.
Yeah.
Because this isn't going to work for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, Susan Pierce Thompson's success rate is like 20%, which is massively high.
Yeah.
That people will lose the weight and keep it off.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, because it's not about the losing; it's that transformation. It's about aiming for that transformation when, you know, you're into the rest of your life. It's about freeing up the rest of your life. It's not just about a diet.
Of course, because when you have that access to what you're talking about, you realize the food part is just one representation of the dynamics of the psychic or psychological dynamics that are going on. So how you've been about food might also be how you are about other things in your life, but you've got the central tool now, haven't you, to observe and intervene in those other areas of your life in which you might want to intervene or not, but you at least you have a tool to do so.
And to be able to recognize it, you know, to be able to recognize that these things are important, you know, that you'll be having these things going off in your head for a reason. Let's go and find out what the reason is without obsessing. You know, it's kind of important not to obsess on any of it because you don't need to.
And
really.
as an aside, Phil, and I think Gary might agree here with what I'm about to propose, but you've made it possible to have this conversation with yourself as well, haven't you? By changing your lifestyle, moving your life. What you've been through up to now has made it possible to have this space in which to explore this, which presumably wouldn't have been so easy like 30 years ago, as you described it. It would have been, in many ways, the context and environment wouldn't have been conducive to have this kind of insight and conversation.
Yeah, I think, you know, when are you know when you're ready. It's like, you know, when you know, and you kind of I got to 61 and I thought, you know what if I'm leaving this too late to actually address it? Do I just then accept?
Did you? Right.
Yeah, I had that thought. And I guess, you know, people I knew were feeling unwell. And I have, as I said, the motivator is I have such a fantastic rest of my life. Yeah. Why wouldn't I want longevity? Give myself the best chance. There are no guarantees. But to give myself the best chance of longevity seemed to be a positive step to take.
Definitely. And that's so interesting to hear that you were going to kind of sign it off as well and say, well, you know, it's too late. I might as well just accept this. That's another great message this morning, isn't it? Is that you don't have to. And
it's never too late.
Yeah.
Absolutely never too late. Not too late to start dreaming, not too late to start doing dream boards or have the life that you want. It is never too late to change the things around you.
Wonderful message. I'm 52, says Nat in Bangkok, joining us this morning, and walk a minimum of 20,000 steps a day. This is what the Portuguese does, 20k steps a day. Quite amazing. Yeah. If I have a business dinner, I take the stairs. Yeah, we read this one out before, but I think that's amazing. 20,000 steps. Older people, especially here in Portugal, had limited access to sweet things and ate more vegetables and also didn't eat much meat. And they got to be old. Enough said. Well, yes, you could come to that conclusion quite easily when you look around at the moment. I suggest going back to the flights. It's the folks with kids that should pay extra for the folks with children. Yeah, that seems fair. And this is children-only flights here as well. They need some adults on board. That's going to be chaos otherwise. Bon dia, Antonio F. Got yourself a cuppa. I'm an addict. TTT and GMP is all I need to feel normal. I don't know what are we enabling this by being here this morning, Phil. I'm not sure how we help Jackie with that. Looks like I've been mad for a long time then. Okay, this is people who talk to themselves, and he says, "Isn't that right, Carvo?" Talking to himself. And for anyone who is currently saying to themselves, "Well, I don't talk to myself," that's you talking to yourself, saying that you don't talk to yourself. Bob's here as well. Great discussion. We head to Lagos today. Looking forward to the trip and the experience. Yeah, another aspect of Portugal there. Of course, have a great trip. You, Bob and Viv, just walking back and forward and stretch in a pool. Stretching out in a pool is really good exercise. Seen it getting popular in the Nordic countries over the years among seniors. I'm Swedish, is Nat. What is that? Is that a doner kebab in the picture or a cork? I'm struggling to see. It looks like a wonky
Is it
doner
a
kebab.
milkshake?
Could be a milkshake even. What is that?
Don't know. I've got old man's eyes.
I need longer arms, maybe. Or you're
Yeah, all of that.
Okay. I have used the idea of addictive mind with my clients in the past and being aware of its seductive voice, not just listening, but consciously responding. Essentially, that's talking to yourself bit, says James. And it's if it's not long-term permanent, it's a repeating cycle. The wisdom of know thyself, self-awareness, mindfulness. It's all coming together, isn't it? There's a lot of the things that we talk about. As we know, Terence is an injecting diabetic, but through changing the way and what he eats. We've got to get him on and talk to him about this as well. It's quite extraordinary what Terence Austin has been up to, a famous artist and a Renaissance man. Along with exercise, he's managed to reduce down to 1 injection a day, presumably from 2. He has literally got his life back. Yeah, let's get him on to talk about that at some point. And people with kids pay more anyway because of the price increases. It's true. It's true. Yeah. And I'm sure, as Phil did, we can figure it out, can't we? On the aeroplane, do you mind? Could you just budge forward a bit? Or, I think one of the problems is, and again, it comes back to attitude, doesn't it? If you get on the plane thinking you're going to have a ruck with somebody about something, guess what? You might have a ruck with somebody. Which brings
thoughts become things, Carl. You know that.
That's right. Which brings us then in conclusion, as we go off for a bon fil semana this morning. I've forgotten to bring up onto the screen the events from by Randy. By Randy's so efficient. He sends me the things on a Thursday, I think it was this week, and I haven't got them ready for today. So forgive me, and I will put those up in the Portugal Club. And just ask you before you go, Phil, about Fill My Cup. How's that going, and how can people get involved in that?
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I am staggered by it, really. Because people actually want to listen to them. I send out a message of positivity every weekday morning. If you go on to feelmycup.com, you will find 3 examples of 3 messages that got sent in the last month or so. And I was asked to do it by a good friend who said, he used to hear my messages that I sent to his wife, interestingly, when we were doing a course. And he would listen in, and he said, I want you to do one every day. I want to be able to pick this up every day. I said, okay, look, if you really want me to, I will. So I did, and we started this, and it's just a very simple website. You just fill out a registration form. You don't give me any bank details or any of that nonsense, and you'll get free access for a couple of weeks. And if you want to continue afterwards, it costs a cup of coffee a month, which I don't think is too much. And you start your day with a bit of positivity and a bit of a smile, and then and it's growing. And people want it. And I've got people who get it in New Zealand and people who get it in America and UK and across Europe. And it surprises me every day. And I love doing them. And it's just good fun.
That's brilliant. So fillmycup.com if you want daily inspiration from Phil. It's been really wonderful talking to you this morning, Phil, as it always is. Thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing what you've been through in the last little while. And have a great weekend. Got any plans?
This weekend, I'm going to be fairly chilled. I think Kimberly's here for this week. So Lady K and I were going out and touring a bit and doing a few bits and pieces. It's always a pleasure to be on here. It's an absolute honor. Great. Carl, for anybody who knows Carl will know that he is a major reason that there are a lot of us here in Portugal because they listened to his show during lockdown or since lockdown, and they thought, yeah, I could do a bit of that. And so a major reason why I am here is because of Carl, and I'm grateful to him because of it.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks very much. Have a lovely time. Love to Lady Kate and to Joey, of course. Take care, mate. Ciao, ciao.
Take care. Ciao, ciao. Bye-bye.
The wonderful Phil. Fillmycup.com. Before we go, Siobhan's just turned up. Who's going to talk to us about B-Bike or Bike? Let's find out. You've got the bikes behind you. Good morning to you, Siobhan. How are you? From A Quinta?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well. We've had a nice chilled out morning, and now we're going to get excited about cycling around the bay here in San Martino de Porto and Salir Do Porto, right?
Yeah, all over the Silver Coast.
Right. So tell us about this new project. This is bike rental. I don't think there's enough of this in Portugal, generally speaking. It's not easy to hire bikes here, is it? Well, certainly, I don't know where to do that. And you've challenged that
Um,
idea for me this morning.
yeah, it's a project that's been on the back burner for about 5 years. So obviously, we
Well
decided this
done.
year was the year to go.
Yes.
So I come from a mountain biking background and from a cycling background, and used to run tours here, Carl, when I was like 19. I used to come from Canada and run tours across
Did
Portugal.
you? I didn't know
Um, yeah, I have little secrets.
that.
So this year we decided to go into it, and we're working with a very high end bike company, actually a Canadian company, because I like their philosophy in life. And we now have available mountain bikes, normal ones, high end ones, and some electric bikes, electric cruisers. We are partnered as well with Intertidal, with Miguel at the Lagoon.
He's an
So
amazing guy, isn't he? He does little tours out, or big
yeah,
tours as well, on Foz de Lelio.
that's right. So the bikes, if somebody wants to rent the bikes for the day and have a tour around the bay, which is just amazing, because you can go over to the other side. There's some bikes there, and then we're also offering a bike service to Airbnbs and private tours. So I hope in September we'll start doing longer tours. And for now, you can call me up and ask me to take you out on a cool, either electric or normal bikes tour around the lagoon, around the bay, around Salir, around Silver Coast, and yeah, so it's exciting. It's a new
What?
project. It's brand new. So we do have already we have quite a few bikes here, but the newer bikes, we have 7 that have already arrived. You can try them out and test them at the lagoon. And then we'll have more bikes to come, and the website, the booking website, and everything will be able to be done online. You can book online, etc. And that's just in the process of going up, Carl, because actually all the insurances and licenses just went in yesterday. So,
Very good.
but yeah, between myself and Intertidal, we hope that, this is another part to growing the passion for the outdoors and outdoor activities in the area. So we partnered up, and yeah, let's see where it goes.
So talking of which, then you could base a holiday around this in San Martino de Porto, Salir do Porto. You could come to this wonderful bay of ours, and you could be out cycling most days if you wanted to be.
Yeah, definitely. And there's bikes. I think with the new electric bikes and some models we have, the cruising bikes, they're very comfortable for people. So they're not a sporty bike. They're more a cruise around, and they're ideal. Like, leave from the bay, discover all the area on these electric bikes. You go home, you charge them up, and they're ready to go. So yeah, I do think that the electric bikes have opened up a lot of opportunities for everybody to tour by bike, and it's a great way to see Portugal because it slows us down. You get to see all the
Yes.
details. We'll eventually have wine tours and be checking out all the geopark sites, UNESCO parks. So we'll be partnering with more and more people. So hopefully we'll have like the wine tour that you'll join us by bike.
That sounds
Obviously
fantastic.
we'll bike, then we'll wine, and then we'll sleep, and then we'll bike, and then we'll wine, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, lots of cool things to discover.
Teach
Bye
people
bye.
how to sexta in here in Portugal. That's amazing. Little snooze after a wine tasting. Sounds fabulous. Straw hat, blanket on the ground under an olive tree. Oh, yes. Very good. Excellent to see you. Thanks for popping in,
Thanks.
telling us about
Thanks,
that.
Carl.
Let us know how it develops and unfolds.
We will.
Yeah,
Okay.
lots of love to you. A Quinta. So the easiest and quickest way, if people want to get straight on that, would be to do what? To go to that Facebook group that I've just popped up on the screen?
Yeah, definitely. Just give us a contact. You can give me a buzz, and I can explain all the details. And I think the easiest way is just give me a buzz, yeah, or an email, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And if
All
you
right.
just happen to be in Foz, swing by Intertidal, and most of the days the bikes are there. So if they're not out already, but I can help you out. Just give me a call for sure.
Where is Intertidal? Is it in the village of Foz? Is that where you find it?
No, Intertidal is based with the kayaks on actually on the lagoon. So if you know where the campsite with the caravans are, not the
Yes.
camping site, but the caravan park, just behind there. If you just keep walking, you'll see them. They have a nice kiosk there. They have some awesome things there. If people haven't gone out for a bike tour, a boat tour on the lagoon, you can. If you don't feel like doing exercise, they have the kayaks out there, and they also have water bikes, which are bikes on the water that you can pedal around the water. So any kind of outdoor adventures, I think between Miguel and us, we cover it all. So no reason to say that they haven't done something fun and seen amazing places out here, because there really are cool things to see
Loving
on
this.
our
This is
doorstep.
great. And this is going to grow and grow, isn't it? The offer that you're creating together here on the Silver Coast. Fantastic. Bon fin semana, Siobhan.
Ciao, Carl. Ciao, ciao.
All right. Bye for now. Ciao, ciao. Right, we've gone over time again. And as I said before, I haven't got Andy's events, but you can find them on the Gumper map. Here he is instead, walking on stilts. I think he was at a medieval fair just recently. They didn't have bikes back in those days. They had stilts. And here are some. Have a great weekend. Take care and bye for now. Ciao, ciao.
I can cross the lake.
Yeah. Very good, Andre.
He's not videoing it, I hope, just a photo.